Secretary read House Bill 54.
House Bill 54 by Representative Clark of the 100th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 16, 31, and 43, the official code of Georgia annotated related to crimes and offenses, health and professions, and businesses respectively, so as to authorize advanced practice registered nurses and physician assistants to order home healthcare services to patients of licensed health home agencies, to provide for definitions, to provide for the approval of continuing education regarding death certificates for certain physician assistants by the Georgia Composite Medical Board, and for certain advanced practice registered nurses by the Georgia Board of Nursing to provide for related matters, for bills and looking laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Cowsert, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities offers the following substitute to House Bill 54, bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 16, 31, 43, and 48 of the CGA related to crimes and offenses, health, professions, and businesses, and revenue taxation, respectively, so as to authorize physician assistants to order home health care services to patients of home health agencies, to provide for definitions, to provide for the approval of continuing education regarding death certificates, to provide for authorizing job descriptions, to provide for tax credits for qualified caregiver expenses, and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senator Brass of the 6 and others offer the following amendment. Number 1, to amend House Bill 54 by adding advanced practice registered nurses and before physician assistants on lines 3 and 6 by inserting an advanced practice registered nurse acting pursuant to the authority of Code Section 43-34-25 before or a physician assistant on lines 17, 30, 39, and 40, 63 and 64, 80, and 178 by inserting between lines 46 and 47 the following. Point 5, advanced practice registered nurse has the same meaning as set forth in Code Section 43-1-3 and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senator Kirkpatrick the 32nd and others offer the following amendment. Number 1A, to amend Amendment 1 to House Bill 54 by inserting on line 4 after on a physician assistant, provided that the individual orderly the home health services does not have an ownership intent in an entity to which they are refining. Mr. President, Senator Jackson, the 41st, and others offered the following amendment. Number 2, to amend House Bill 54 by inserting between lines 162 and 163 the following. Section 6A, said title is further amended by adding a new code section to read as follows. 43-34-34.1A, as used in the code section the term 1 institution means a hospital licensed by the Department of Community Health and its affiliated clinics, a board-approved medical school, or a federally qualified health center, provided that such institution and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Senator from the 6.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're chugging along. We only got 78 more bills to go. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you HB 54. Simple bill. It allows PAs, also known as physician assistants, under direction of a doctor or a physician, to write home health care orders. That is the underlying bill in its simplest form. And brought Amendment 1, which will allow advanced practice registered nurses to do the same, also under the direction of a doctor or a physician. It's something we did for 3 years under executive order that the governor had signed off on. It's been done. My understanding is we are the last state that would be allowing these APRNs to write the home health care. We've got Amendment 1A brought by the Doctor Caucus, and this simply is going to mirror federal language, or may not mirror it, but it goes along with federal language that says you can't write that home health care if you own or have any interest in a company that does home health care. So you can't refer someone to yourself. So you can refer the home health care, the PA, the APRN, or the doctor. They can refer someone to home health care. They just can't refer them to their own company, or any company for that matter. And then there's an Amendment 2. I haven't had a chance to read it, so I can't speak to it. With that, I'll yield for questions.
Senator from the 1st has a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does Senator yield?
Senator, I yield for the chairman of the Doctor Caucus, co-chairman of the Doctor Caucus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the Rules. We're certainly, I just want to reiterate that, Amendment 1, Amendment 1A is something that I think is appropriate. Nurse practitioners and PAs, it is correct with physicians and PAs can't refer to something that they own, so that's why the Second Amendment, and I think we're all on board with that. And I would hope that the Second Amendment would be withdrawn, but I will leave that up to the author. Thank you very much.
Could I get that in the form of a question? But yes, that is true. I yield the will.
You have no more questions. Senator's yielded. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against it? Senator from the 32nd, you'd like to come speak to your amendment? Senator from the 32nd, your amendment?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Rules Chairman did a very good job of explaining Amendment 1A. Basically, physicians are bound by federal law about self-referrals so that you don't refer to an entity in which you have a financial interest. And so the amendment is just to make it clear that the same would apply to anyone that's making that referral. Happy to answer any questions.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you. I yield.
Recognize Senator from the 41st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I rise today here with Amendment Number 2, and I would ask and invite you to consider this amendment. And I want to start by telling you where it comes from. First and foremost, I had the great privilege of being on a study committee where we went around rural Georgia and we talked about a rural healthcare shortage. And over the course of time, that study committee put together a committee report. And one of the things we said that we needed to do was to consider the people who live in our state today who are already trained as physicians, who are trained internationally, and to create a pathway for them to become licensed. And so this is what this amendment does. It creates a pathway because we have hundreds of doctors who live in Georgia today, right now, who are trained and worked as physicians in their home countries, who've now made Georgia home, and right now are not able to practice. I'm also bringing this bill to you today because I have family who live in rural Georgia. A father-in-law with a chronic illness who fought in Vietnam, who worked and served this country, and who has to travel miles and miles because there's no doctor nearby. And I know that this is true for many of the people in this room. There are 143 counties in our great state in which there is a clear and true shortage of physicians. Every one of us sitting in this room has an obligation to our constituents to do everything that we can possible to deliver health care to them. And when you have doctors who are already trained here in the States, but we don't create a pathway for them to be able to work, well, I think that we're failing our people. The reality is, I have worked incredibly hard and in good faith with physicians and with a whole lot of people to create a pathway so that people who are trained, people who served in the military and worked as physicians there, people who worked hard as physicians who bring great expertise, can be able to bring that practice here to Georgia. But I want to be clear, what I'm trying to do here is not new. This isn't something that I just made up or came out of the air. Let me tell you the states that have already done this. Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Virginia, Florida, Utah, Illinois, Idaho, Iowa, Tennessee, Washington, and Wisconsin have all said, you know what, we have a shortage. We have a physician shortage, particularly in our rural areas. And we need to create a pathway for people who are internationally trained to be able to practice in our states. They are doing that, and they are doing that today to try to begin to address the shortage. Friends, I want to be clear. People in rural Georgia today are not well because they don't have access to a physician. People in rural Georgia today are burning up gas, spending extra time and energy having to tote their loved ones to other counties because they simply don't have access to a physician. This bill helps to begin to fill that gap. Now, some will say, well, are you sure that they're going to be able to care for us well? Well, in this amendment, we've made sure. We require that they take all of the examinations that anyone who was trained in the U.S. would take. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. We require that they would have to be supervised by a physician in the facility where they were hired. We have put lots of guardrails in this bill, and I will tell you, somebody's probably already got a text message from the composite board. And the composite board will say, well, we don't agree with this bill. But I want you to just take a moment and look at line 48. In line 48, we tell the board that any other criteria that the board may require, they are able to come up with. Line 65, once again, we say to the board, any other criteria that you decide is necessary to ensure the safety of these physicians, you can come up with. And we say it again in line 73, any license can be granted or denied at the discretion of the board. We have given the composite board a significant amount of leeway to make sure that they implement rules and promulgate all the things that are necessary to protect all Georgians when it comes to having access to a physician who is trained internationally. But fundamentally, this is about bringing more doctors online. It is about making sure that wherever you are, whether it is because you have family in rural Georgia or you yourself live in rural Georgia or you happen to go on vacation and find yourself in need of a doctor in rural Georgia, this is about making sure that those doctors are available. So I hear and I know that there are some concerns because the medical composite board isn't online. Well, sometimes we have to tell the medical composite board to figure out the rules. But we've given you some framework. And we've given the medical composite board the space to fill in any rules that they might feel are necessary. But at the end of the day, this amendment, this vehicle, will make sure that we have more doctors who are trained, who have been working as physicians in other countries. We are making sure that they can come and serve here, just like 13 other states around us have already done. And with that, I will yield for questions.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you.
Recognize the senator from the first. Speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I certainly agree with the senator that there is a significant shortage of physicians, but I must point out that we have been working with her, and we've agreed with the Composite Board of Medical Examiners that we will work on that issue off session this summer, and so that everyone is in agreement with allowing foreign medical graduates to practice here in the state of Georgia. They do now, they're allowed to now, but they must complete a residency. The issue is whether or not they've completed a residency in an approved, accredited from somewhere around the world. So all residency programs are not equal. As a matter of fact, let me just point out that on line 40, that it says you must have completed a formal postgraduate training outside of the United States. Well, listen, I can, after I finished medical school, I could have gone to France and done a months-long postgraduate education and come back. I don't think that definition really fits into a formal residency program that you have in mind. And it goes on and on with that. There are some minor changes that we have asked her to make, but not the changes that everyone is comfortable with. Because the bottom line is a quality physician leading the team and taking care of patients in a safe manner. I am fully on board with having foreign medical graduates in the United States and in Georgia. They are practicing. I have a partner and partners who have practiced outside of the United States, but they have met every criteria. These that she is carving out is not appropriate right now with these rules that she has proposed. And that's why I would say let's give us some time. Let's get everybody on board. Let's get everybody in full agreement, because quality and safety is important. Mr. President, I'll be happy to answer questions. If not, I'll yield the well. Thank you.
Recognize the senator from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of the amendment. One of the things we have realized is the headlines in Georgia couldn't be clearer why this amendment is necessary. And although there may be some work to do, now is the time to actually pass this amendment. The headlines say things like half of Georgia rural hospitals struggle financially. Rural health care is in crisis. 18 of 30 rural hospitals are in danger of closing. Local leaders highlight Georgia rural health care crisis. And these headlines could go on and on. I could name more and more, and it would span different years and also different localities. And make no mistake that Georgia really is a rural state in the sense that almost 120 of our 159 counties are actually classified as rural. This amendment addresses that particular issue. And these folks are there, whether it's rural or in an underserved population. Because remember, this amendment actually affects underserved areas, but also underserved populations. These people right now need help today. They're actually suffering. They actually need this healthcare access. And we also should remind ourselves that the persons that come in under this amendment, they still would have to be hired. They still would have to be interviewed. They still are going to go through the same kind of protocols to make sure that they're doing the right thing once they are hired. They're still going to have to satisfy their patients. Everything that any other physician would do, they will also be subject to that. The question becomes, we realize that the need is there. Now is the time. Not wait another year, and then possibly there's other restrictions that we come up with or other things that need to be done. Now is the time to help our citizens of Georgia and to solve this rural and underserved population crisis for health care that we have in Georgia. Thank you, and I yield the well.
Recognize senator from the 50th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I've had a good conversation with the author of the amendment and the author of the bill. I have my name on this amendment, but I'm going to be voting against this. I think this is a longer conversation that needs to be had in the off season, and I ask for y'all to stick with me. And I yield the well.
Senator from the 32nd, do you have something you'd like to add? Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's absolutely true that we have been working with the senator to try to get this right. I don't feel we're there yet. Line 40, for example, doesn't really define what is an acceptable postgraduate training program outside the United States. Line 62 talks about institutions that are not accredited and the person being supervised by one fully licensed physician in the state. What does that mean? I don't think we want to create a two-tiered system, and although we do have shortages, we want to be sure that the people that are coming into practice are qualified. So with that, I am not in support of the amendment. Number 2. Thank you.
All right, senator's yielded. Recognize senator from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't planning to speak, but I just want to mention my elder sister is a doctor. She was in this country a number of years ago, and she left to take care of my uncle, was a dentist, passed away, he's in New York. So I have multiple folks in my family, they're doctors. I just want you to know, we have, last number of years, I know multiple doctors, they graduated from England, from Japan, from Afghanistan, from Bangladesh and India. A lot of them left this state. They're United States citizens. They came in this country with a residency, became a U.S. citizen, spent all this time over here, couldn't get a residency. I know they went to New York, they went to Missouri, multiple other states. So we have folks, they're qualified. They're not coming in on the third world country that you think, So we need to do something. We need to please. I've been hearing this a number of years that we're going to do something, we're going to do work, we're going to work. Please do something. We got to do something. We can do better. We should not have county in the state of Georgia that we don't have any doctors. We have multiple counties in the state of Georgia that doesn't have any doctors. We need to carve out or do something so people don't have to go other state to practice or get residency. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the word.
Senators yielded. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Does the gentleman from the 6th wish to close debate? He waves. Questions on the adoption of Amendment 1A. On Amendment 1A, authored by the senator from the 32nd. Is there objection to 1A? Without objection, 1A is amended. Now move on to Amendment number 1, as amended, authored by, I'm not sure who authored it, senator from the 50th maybe? The 6th, authored by the senator who is carrying the bill. Senator from, is there objection? This is 1. On to amendment number 2, we have objection. All right. Amendment number 2, authored by the senator from the 41st. All those in favor of Amendment 2 will vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the adoption of Amendment 2, the yeas are 23 and the nays are 30, and so this amendment has failed. Questions on the adoption of the committee substitute as amended. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute as amended? Hearing none, the committee substitute as amended is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. Report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor will vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 54 and the nays are 1, and this bill has received the requisite constitutional majority and therefore is passed by substitute. Recognize the senator from the 20th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that Senate Rules 3-1.2 and 4-2.1A be suspended to allow for a bill to be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 372 by Senator Walker the 20th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 1 of Title 7 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to the Department of Banking and Finance and financial institutions generally, so as to provide for the removal of references to reputational risk from any Department of Banking and Finance guidance, rule, examination manual, or similar document, to prohibit the Department from considering reputational risk when regulating financial institutions, to provide for a report detailing any policy change made by the Department as a result of this act, to provide for definitions, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
We'll assign it to banking. You should have a supplemental local consent calendar, what we read earlier today. Should have that on your desk. And is there objections to anything on the local consent calendar? You got sit, stand at ease.